What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Sky Striker deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck is an extremely powerful deck to play, especially now that we finally have Sky Striker A0. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Sky Striker Ace Ray. Ray is definitely a 3-of in the build because this card is a card you're using over and over again to go for all of your awesome link plays, but this card is our main monster of the deck. We then play a single copy of Rose. Rose is an extremely important combo piece in the deck, but you only need a single copy of this card. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's definitely a 3-of in the build. It's basically just use this card to stopping your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is such a crazy card right now to basically just stop your opponent from searching the deck for the rest of the turn. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is great as a 1-of in the build because this card helps us search out our copy of Ray directly from our deck to our hand. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good as a 1-of in the build to basically just use this card at stopping your opponent from using hand traps. We then play a single copy of Triple Tactics Talent. Triple Tactics Talent is great as a 1-of in the build to basically just use this card to draw 2 cards, take control of an opponent's monster, or look at your opponent's hand and choose a card from it and shuffle it into the deck. We then play a single copy of Raigeki. Raigeki is great at breaking your opponent's board, and it's a really good 1-of in this build. We then play 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust. Thrust is insane in this build, and I feel like 2 copies is perfect for this deck because this card can easily get to all sorts of awesome cards like Raigeki, Triple Tactics Talent, Rhoda, or it can even get to your copies of Sky Striker Engage, which is so cool that this card can instantly search out one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck. We then play a single copy of Area Zero. Area Zero is a great field spell in the build, but I feel like 1 copy is really all you need. This card lets us target one other card that you control, excavate the top 3 cards to your deck, and you get to add 1 excavated Sky Striker card to your hand. Also, you shuffle the rest back in the deck. And if you excavated a Sky Striker card, send the target card to the graveyard. And if this card is in the field zone, is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can actually special summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from the deck, and you can only use each effect this card once per turn. But this card is awesome in the build as a 1-of. Then a single copy of Multi-Roll. Multi-Roll is really good in the deck as a 1-of as well, but I feel like you really only need a single copy of this card now. This card is awesome in the deck. It helps you recycle your Sky Striker cards by sending them back to your side of the field. And it's just such a powerful card in this deck because it has the ability that you can actually once per turn target one other card that you control, send that card to the graveyard, and also your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to your Sky Striker activations for the rest of the turn, even if this card leaves the field. And also you can only gain the previous effect once per turn, and once per turn during the end phase you can set Sky Striker spells with different names from your graveyard up to the number of Sky Striker spells you activated this turn while this card was faceable in the field, but banish them when they leave the field, which is an insane ability. We then made a single copy of Hornet Drones. Hornet Drones is great as a 1-of in the build, just give us an additional monster out on our side of the field so we can use it as a link material. We then made a single copy of Afterburners. Afterburners is great in the deck, but again, I feel like 1 copy is really all you need. As if you control no monsters in the main monster zone, you can actually target a face-up card on the field and destroy it, and if you have 3 or more spells and traps in the graveyard, you can destroy spell or trap on the field, which is great to either pop a monster or pop a back row. We then play 2 copies of Shark Cannon. Shark Cannon is great as a 2-of in the build, and I absolutely love this card in this deck, especially this format, as if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and banish that monster. Or if you have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, you can special summon the monster to your field instead, but it cannot attack, which is a great ability just to deal with cards in your opponent's graveyard. We then played 2 copies of the Sky Striker Special Maneuver. This card is an awesome new card that we just got out of Duelist Advance, and this card changes the game. This card has the ability you can target an equal number of Sky Striker Ace monsters and Sky Striker spells in the graveyard and shuffle them into the deck. Then, for every 3 shuffled cards, you can actually return up to 1 card on the field back to the hand, which is a great effect to help us recycle resources while also getting a bounce. This card also has the ability if a Sky Striker monster is special summoned to your field while this card's in the graveyard, you can banish this card and immediately after this effect resolves, link summon a Sky Striker Ace Link monster, which is a crazy powerful effect to instantly step into a Link monster. This card is definitely a 2-of in the build and helps out so much in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Linkage. Linkage is really good at helping us get additional Link monsters on our side of the field. As you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you cannot special them from the extract for the rest of the turn after this card resolves, except Sky Striker Ace monsters. Also send one other card you control to the graveyard. If you do, special summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your extract to an extra monster zone. And if you have at least 1 light and 1 dark Sky Striker Ace monster on the field and are in the graveyard, the summoned monster gains 1,000 attack points, making it super easy to help us go in for game. We then played 3 copies of Widow Anchor. Widow Anchor is one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck, and definitely a 3-of in the build. This card has the ability if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you can turn a face-up effect monster in the field and negate that face-up monster's effect until the end of the turn. And if you have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, you can take control of the monster until the end phase, which is a crazy powerful effect. We then played 3 copies of Engage. Engage is definitely a 3-of, and it's amazing that we have this card at 3. As if you control no monsters in the main monster zone, you can add a Sky Striker card from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. If you have 3 or more spells in the graveyard, you can draw a card as well, which is a crazy powerful effect. This card can basically search any card in the deck just about, and also give you an additional draw on top of it. Speaking of additional draws, we also play 3 copies of Upstart Goblin. Upstart Goblin is great as a 3-of in the build, just to give us additional spells on the graveyard while also letting us get a draw. We then play 3 copies of Forbidden Droplets. Droplets is just a really good board breaker in this build to basically just use this card to half the attack points of our opponent's monsters, get spells in the graveyard, and also use this card to be able to go in for game because it does negate the monster's effects as well, which is so cool. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 1, and that's going to be a single copy of the Black Goat Laughs. Now this card is really good as a 1-of in the build to play with your copy of Triple Tactics Thrust. You also could play Dimensional Barrier instead of this card for a more budget option, but this card is really good in the build to be able to set to your side of the field with Thrust, and I'm basically just using this spot in the deck to be able to use as a card that I can set with a copy of Thrust, which is why I do suggest that you can play Dimensional Barrier instead. And this card also has a really cool ability. You can declare 1 monster card's name, and this turn, neither player can special monsters with that original name, except from the graveyard. You can also banish this card from the graveyard to declare 1 monster card's name, and this turn, neither player can activate the effects of monsters on the field with that original name, and you can only use 1 effect this card per turn, and only once that turn. So, that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Sky Striker Ace Zero. This card is actually insane. This card requires 2 Sky Striker Ace monsters to make this card, and you can only special summon this card once per turn. It cannot be used as link material, and if this card is special summoned, you can add a Sky Striker spell from your deck or graveyard to your hand. In quick effect, you can actually trigger this card to special summon out a copy of Ray and a copy of Rose from your deck or graveyard, then destroy a card on the field. And you only use the effect of this card once per turn, and only once that turn. This card is such a powerful card to be able to use, and it's insane that we finally had this card in the TCG. We then played 3 copies of Kangari. Kangari is definitely a 3-of in the build, as if this card is special summoned, you can target a Sky Striker spell in the graveyard and add it to your hand, and it also gains 100 attack for each spell card in the graveyard, and you can only special summon this card once per turn. We then played 2 copies of Shizuku. Shizuku is really good in the build as a 2-of, as this card has the ability monsters your opponent control lose 100 attack and defense for each spell in your graveyard, and once per turn during the end phase, if this card was special summoned this turn, you can add a Sky Striker spell from your deck to your hand with a different name from cards in your graveyard. We then played 2 copies of Hayate. Hayate is great as a 2-of in the build because this card can actually attack your opponent directly, and if it battled, you get to send a Sky Striker card from your deck to the graveyard. We then play a single copy of Kaina. Kaina is really good as a 1-of in the build, and just absolutely love playing this card as a 1-of. We then played 2 copies of Zeke. Zeke is great as a 2-of in the build, as it must be a link summon, and you can only special summon this card once per turn. And if this card is link summon, you can target a face-up monster on the field and banish it into the opponent's next end phase. And once per turn, you can target one of their cards that you control, and this card actually gains 1,000 attack, then send the targeted card to the graveyard, which is a pretty cool effect. We then play a single copy of Azalea. Azalea is really good in the build as a 1-of because it must be link summon. You can only special summon this card once per turn, and this card is special summon. You can actually target a card on the field and destroy it, giving you the ability to pop a card on the field. Then if you have 3 or less spells in the graveyard, you send this card to the graveyard, but you're usually going to have 3 spells in the grave. Also, once per turn at the start of the damage step, if this card battles an opponent's monster, you can actually banish 1 spell from your graveyard and destroy that opponent's monster, which is a really cool effect. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code is great because we play so many different attributes in this deck. This card just comes in extremely handy in this build just to be able to basically use this card to be able to pop multiple cards on the field and go in for game. We then play a single copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is really good as a 1-of in the build to basically just use this card as a double interruption, and it's really good in this deck to be able to summon out to your side of the field. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed. This deck is actually insane now that we finally have Sky Striker A0, and it changes the entire deck, which is so cool. I absolutely love this new boss monster, and it's just so cool to be able to summon it out to your side of the field and get the exact card that you need. So that's good for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.